This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hi everyone. So as we have successfully completed 3 sessions on the Python for data science course, today is our 4th session. Before we jump on to our 4th session, let's quickly recap what we have discussed in 1, 2, 3 and sessions. I very well remember I have stopped at 30th slide because I told you that I'll make the Python videos shorter, like half 1 hour. So I had to stop it. Now let's say time is 2:53. This one also will make 1 hour session and wind it up. Okay. First 10 minutes, let's recap what we have been discussing the other day. Okay. First one. Slide number 29 explains about Boolean expressions. Boolean expressions mean you should know what is a Boolean expression. In this slide, all you have to memorize yourself is Boolean means true or false. If a statement is true, Python returns it as a true value. If a statement is false, Python returns the output as false. So true or false are special values that belongs to the class bool. Okay. I have also explained you with one practical example where I said print type of true, it returned class as bool. Now you also need to know about the double equal to operator. Okay, double equal to operator is a comparison operator, and for example, x not equal to y, x less than y, x greater than y, x greater than equal to y, x less than equal to y. If x is same as y, x is not same as y, like that. And one thing you shouldn't mess up is avoid doing a mistake of using single equal to instead of double equal to. Single equal to means you are assigning a value to a variable, or you are assigning something to the right side on the left side one. But whereas double equal to means you are working on an assignment operator or a comparison operator to that matters. Okay, that's all about this slide. So let's go to 28th one. In the 28th slide, I explained you about comments. When you are trying to write a Python program and you wanted people to know what that program is, you can initiate the comments with the asterisk symbol. When you say asterisk symbol, that says that's comment section and that will be ignored. Python won't consider that as a block of code which need to be considered for the execution process. Okay, I explained that very well. Now let's go to 27. 27 is the hands-on. Here we defined a function name, and in this function, in this workshop, in this hands-on, you understood what is an user input, how user input can be used for the Python programming. Next one, input from user. This one is fairly straightforward. At times your program execution would have a block where block would require an input from a user. It takes that input and then executes the block and gives you the result. In such situations, what you have to do, what you need to be aware of. So in here, very simple. The only thing you have to think is, if you want to take the value for a variable from the user via a keyboard, Python provides a built-in function called input, which is nothing but this bit. Input is equal to input, this bit. Okay, now you need to be aware of that. That's the thing. And let's go on to 25th. Here again, this is a hands-on exercise. This hands-on exercise is about the types of functions. In this function we spoke about various functions. For example, you have user defined functions, you have built-in functions, and you have manual functions also. Okay, any function is user defined or inbuilt functions are different from the void functions. Void functions, the way how it works is, it might display something on the screen or have some other effect, but they don't have a return value. Means the void functions for sure does not have return value, but it will display something as it is supposed to do, like that. That's a void function. So there are many cases where you put some void functions in between your execution framework. So the void functions, for example, boss, look at this one, this bit here. This is a definition of a void function. This will definitely return something on the screen, but that's not the output. But that's just the output of the code. Okay, If you try to assign the result to a variable, then you get a special value called none. Again, none is also a special class type called none class type. That's all you must be aware of. And next one we have discussed about other hands-on, and this hands-on is about storing a variable, parameters and arguments. What is a parameter? What is an argument? What is a variable? What is a value? Here, when you write a function, your function will start with the definition def, and afterward you have a function name. Function name will be followed by a parenthesis. Within the parenthesis, you have parameters, and those parameters are nothing but those are the inputs that will be given to your function to complete the logic and execute and give the output. There is a difference between parameter and the argument. Argument can also be referenced as a value which can be used in some other places in the program. That is the difference. Okay. Now see here, inside the function, the arguments are assigned to a variable called parameters. Here is the example of the user defined function that takes an argument. Let me highlight this for you because this is, we need to be very specific on this particular bit. Okay. GitHub and Git repo, I have not prepared the notes for it. I know I told you that I'll explain you on that one. We can work on it, don't worry. Let me save it again. Perfect. Now the color is dominated. Give me 1 minute. I'll take other one. Yeah, now it looks good. So very good. Just understand, inside the function, the arguments are assigned to a variables called parameters. Perfect. Again, if you ask me, it's 15 hours. Now, if you ask me the difference between parameters and variables, variables will store a value, and the argument that's assigned to a variable is called a parameter. As simple as it is. Don't get confused. Variables outside the function will carry a value, whereas a variable assigned to an argument is called a parameter. As simple as it is. Two differences of it. Outside the block of the code, value is stored in the variable. Within the block of the code, the variables that are assigned to arguments, or the arguments that are assigned to variables, are called as a parameters. hope it's very clear. For example, I'll show you practical example in the next one, because we are going to write a complex code there. Okay. In this one, I explained you the flow of execution. You should never call a function without completing the function name. You should first write the function and then call the function. Okay. This is the flow of execution. In this flow of execution, we discussed about how a function should look like. Now, in this one, this is the important this one also. Let me highlight this one. Let me underline this one. Now, just read through it. A function call is like a jitter in the flow of execution. Instead of going to the next statement, the flow jumps to the body of the function, execute all of the statements there, and then comes back to pick it up where it left off. Perfect. That is all we need to be aware of. Next one. Making your own functions is a continuation. You all know about it. Here we discussed about how you need to start writing a function, your function name, your indentation, your return statements. Okay. I have shown you one example on how I can write a function in this slide. Okay. Random number generation. You know how the random number generation works. And here also we have done an example. Here we have done a hands-on where we did an import math module and done some square root calculations. So give me 1 second. So type conversions, how do we convert into float, float to int, into string, string to int, like that. Built-in functions, I told you, max, min, length, these are built-in functions. And functions, I told you how a function will be working in Python. Operations with other types. When I say other types, summing up string plus string, summing up int plus int, but what happens when you try to sum up a string with an int? That's what it is. Now, hands-on Python variables. Here we discussed about various aspects of how Python will handle the variables, and what is a string, what is an int, what is a float, what is Boolean, like that. We calculated, we try to understand how Python will work as a calculator in here. Okay, this is what it is. And second one, we discussed about print and get values. Before that, we discussed about advanced operations. Advanced operations is nothing but exponential and modulo, how exponents works, how modulo works. And here we discussed about lambda. Lambda means parenthesis, exponential, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction. That's what it is. Okay. Now let's now jump back to our point where we left. I very well remember we discussed very clearly till Boolean expressions, and we stopped here, and we thought we should do one exercise and then move on. Okay. So what's the exercise here? What is he talking here? He is telling about define a function with the name boolean underscore function. And what is he saying? He is saying take 4 arguments, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Inside the function, write the statement to check. The first one, if number 1 is greater than number 2 and store results in expression 1 after converting into string. Understand the question carefully. If number 1 is greater than number 2 and store the result in expression 1, converting it into str. Let me do that now. I'll do one by one. As you know, I have my Jupyter notebook. Let me go ahead and open my Jupyter notebook. 1 second. I'll take it a bit slow. 1 second. Let me open my Jupyter notebook. I'll try to go as slow as possible. Guys, trust me, take my word. I'm telling you very seriously. Python is very, very, very important. If you add, you are very good. You need not to be an expert. If you say you are good in Python, your weight of your profile will be one level high. On top of it, your profile will be attracted by the recruiters. It will also add some value when you speak about your Python programming skills in the interviews. So please, please, please take it seriously. If you have one programming language with good experience in your CV, then that will explain to everyone that you are a valued resource. That's all I can say. Let me open my Python exercises. Okay, now this is where we are practicing all the Python codes. Let's come back here. Now, what am I supposed to do here? Let me understand carefully. Define a function with the name bool underscore function. So I'll say def bool underscore function, taking 4 arguments, num1, num2, num3. So parenthesis open, num1, num2, 4, very good. Inside the function. So block of the function starts from there. The first condition is num1 is greater than num2 and store the result in exponential 1 after converting it into string. So the result must be converted into string. Okay, let me do that. I'll say def function name is bool underscore function, and the parenthesis I have 4. How many did it say? 4 arguments. Num1 has 1 argument, num2 has 1 argument, num3 has 3rd argument, num4 has 4th argument. Perfect. So here the code, the block starts. He said if number 1 is greater than number 2 and store the result in a variable expression 1, and that must be converted to string. Perfect. So what I would say is expression 1 is the variable that should have the result num1 greater than num2. What did he say? He said the result must be stored in a string after converting to string. So I'll say string of. Okay, this is one condition. Now the second condition is if num1 is equal to num3 and store the result in variable expression 2 after converting it to string. Okay, so now what happens is I'll say expression 2 is equal to string of num1 is equal to num1 equal to num3. Okay, this is one thing we have to do. Now if num2 is less than or equal to num3, store the result in in variable exponential in expression 3 after commenting str. So number 2 is less than or equal to number 3. Okay. Expression 3 is equal to str of number 2 greater than less than or equal to number 3. Okay, perfect. That's done. One second, let me cross check something for you here. Okay, makes sense to me. Let me quickly check if it's recording. Yeah, it's recording. So num2 is less than or equal to num3. Num2 is less than or equal to num3. This is done. So the next one is if num4 is not equal to num1, which must be stored in the expression number 4. Okay, perfect. Let me do that now. So what I would say is expression 4 is equal to string of num4 not equal to num1. Okay, this is expression. Let me check once again quickly. Expression 4, number 4 not equal to number 1. Please be very careful. When you say not equal to, it should look like this. Okay. Now this is done. Let me quickly see what's next. Here he is asking return statement, means your block of code execution should stop here. Return the value which is concatenation of expression 1, 2, 3 and 4. So what I can say is return will be expression 1 plus expression 2 plus expression 3 plus expression 4. Okay, so what I would say is I would say return expression 1 plus expression 2 plus expression 3 plus expression 4. Super. Now what I would say is I should have a space here. Space doesn't matter, but if you give space once, please make sure you give space every time. Let me run this one now. Okay, now if I say bool underscore function of 1 2 3 4, it shouldn't throw any error message. Okay, so see, false false true true. The reason why it said false false true true is, now let's understand. Is number 1 greater than number 2? Number 1 is 1, number 2 is 2. Is 1 greater than 2? No, false, done deal. Is number 1 equal to number 3? What is number 1? Number 1 is 1, number 3 is 3. Is 1 equal to 3? No, that's false, done deal. Is number 2 less than or equal to number 3? What is number 2? Number 2 is 2. What is number 3? 3. Is 2 less or equal to 3? Yes, it is less. Perfect. Now, if number 4 not equal to number 1. Okay, what is number 4? Number 4 is 4. Number 4 is obviously not equal to number 1, which is 1. So that is true. This is how the Boolean evaluation function works, and we have written one code for it. Okay. Now, once again, I'll tell you, expression 1 is number 1 greater than number 2. Is 1 greater than 2? No, that is false. Perfect. Expression 2 is asking, is number 1 equal to number 3? Again, you are doing a comparison operator. What is number 1? It's 1. What is number 3? It's 3. Is 1 equal to 3? Can you compare 1 with 3? No. That's the reason it's false. Now, is number 2 less than or equal to number 3? What is number 2? Number 2 is 2, right? 2 is obviously less than or equal to 3. That's the reason it's true. Again, is number 4 not equal to number 1? Number 4 is 4 and number 1 is 1. So 4 is not equal to 1, 1 is not equal to 4. So that's true. Perfect. Okay. This is how the evaluation is done, and this is how we have written one function for your Boolean expressions. Okay. Let me go back to the pointer. Perfect. Now, hope you're all fine with this one. Let me move on to next one. 31. Here we are talking about logical operators. When I say logical operators, you need to be very clear on what the theory explains in the logical operators. Look at my slide. I'll explain you theory and then jump into practicals. There are 3 logical operators in Python. Okay. When I say 3 logical operators, it is AND, OR, and NOT. Okay. Now, the meaning of these operators is very similar to their meaning in English. The word itself explains what they are doing. For example, 3 is less than 4. Yes, it's true. And 4 is greater than 1. Yes, it's true. It will return true. Okay. We are happy till this point. Now, when I say x modulo 2 double equal to 0 or x modulo 4 double equal to 0, then x should be 2 in first case and x should be 4 in the second case. But what happens here? I'm using OR. When I say OR, either this can be true and this can be false, or this can be true or this can be false. In such situations, it returns true if either of the condition is true. So if the number x is divisible by 2 or 4. Perfect. Now let's talk about the NOT operator. The NOT operator negates a Boolean expression. Negates a Boolean expression means what happens if A is not greater than B. In this case, it returns true if A greater than B is false. If A is less than or equal to B. Generally, the operands of the logical operator should be Boolean expressions, but Python is not very strict. Any non-zero number is interpreted as true. Okay. For example, 23 and 2. Okay. If I say 23 and true, it returns true because any non-zero value is represented as true. I repeat this statement once again for you. Carefully understand. If I say not A greater than B, okay, let me show you practically what happens here. When I say not A greater than B and execute this one, it says A is not defined because I have not said what is A and what is B. Now, what I do is A is equal to 3, B is equal to 2. Okay, perfect. Now, if I say not A greater than B, see what happens. False, because obviously A is greater than B. Now, if I say A greater than B, it's true, right? I'm just saying not A greater than B. So what is not of true? It's false. That's what it is. So this kind of operations also you must be aware of. So the not, let me go back to my slide again. What I'm trying to explain here is the not operator negates a Boolean expression. So we say not A greater than B. Perfect. Now it returns true if A is greater than B. Okay. It once again, guys, simple boss. Simple. What I'm trying to tell you here is if A is greater than B, what is it telling? It's saying true. That's what I'm telling. It is returning true if A is greater than B. But it is saying false only for the reason I'm using negation of Boolean. That is a not expression. Okay. So we proved our statement here. If I don't use that not A of B, it should give me true. Okay. This is how we need to understand the negation, the not operator negation. Okay. Not operator gives the negative results of what the actual results are. Now let's talk about operands here. What operands is doing is, operands of the logical operators should be Boolean expressions. I repeat, the operands of the logical operators, let me highlight this one. When you read to the slide, you'll understand what I mean. I'll highlight this here. The operands of the logical operators should be Boolean expressions. But Python is not very strict in this term. That is the reason why any non-zero number is represented as true. For example, if you say 23 and true, if I say 23 and 2, let me show you practically what I mean. It gave true. Why it gave true? Because Python is not very strict on operands. Operands of the logical operator should be always Boolean expressions. Just remember that. Okay, we are done with this slide. Once again, I would like to explain this again. Do not confuse. This slide is explaining you about logical operations. The logical operations is nothing but and or not. When I say and, both the conditions must be true. Okay. If I say here, I'll explain that if 3 is greater than 4 and if 3 is greater than 2 and 4 is greater than 3, true, because and means this should be passed, that should be passed. Now if I say 3 is greater than true or 4 is greater than 5, I know 4 is not greater than 5, but see what happens. It still says true, because in OR operator it doesn't care, it only needs one statement has to pass successfully. So you understood about and, you understood about not, you understood about OR. Now let's understand about not. Not, I explained you very practically. Not is nothing but the not operator negates a Boolean expression. Negates mean negative of Boolean expression. If it is true, it gives false. If it is false, it gives true. That's all you need to understand. Okay, perfect. Now let me move on to the next slide. Where am I? I'm on 31. Let me go to 32. Now logical operation continuation. Now guys, this slide is little bit deeper, so I would request you to just stay focused and understand this one. Now what happens is I'm sorry, what happens here is, while processing a logical operation such as x greater than or equal to 2 and x by y greater than 2. Now let me show you practically. Okay, I'm copying this from here. I'm going to my tutor notebook. Let's take this one. Okay, x is not defined, I know that. So understand carefully. What I'm saying is, when I am processing a logical expression, such as x greater than 2 and x by y is greater than 2, which means and operator and two conditions have to pass. Python evaluates the expression from left to right. We learned this long back. Very good. We are clear till this point. Because of the definition of and, if x is less than 2, the expression x greater than or equal to 2 is false. I repeat, as in the above statement, what did I tell you? It evaluates from left to right. The left one is x greater than, I'm sorry, in the first left side, what you have x less than or equal to 2. When I said x is less than or equal to 2, the expression x less than or equal to false, and so the whole expression will be false regardless of whether x divided by y is greater than 2 evaluates to true or false. Again, I repeat, there's small confusion here. Try to understand. Guys, I'm reading out this point. If you are just confused with what I'm talking, okay, just understand it carefully. Because of the definition of and, మీరు ఇక్కడ and యూస్ చేస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి and యూస్ చేసే క్రమంలో నీకు రెండు స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఉన్నా, రెండు ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్స్ ఉన్నా, రెండు పాస్ అవ్వాలి. రెండిట్లో ఏది ఫెయిల్ అయినా కానీ ఫాల్స్ అవుతుంది. రెండు అయితే రెండు ట్రూ అవ్వాలి, లేదా రెండు ఫాల్స్ అవ్వాలి. రిమెంబర్ లైక్ దట్. నౌ because of the way how and works, and also considering from left to right, for any reason, if x is less than 2, okay, if my x is 3, I'm happy. For any reason, if x is less than 2, the expression x greater than 2 will be false. Okay, as this is false, the whole expression is false regardless of whether your second half, which is x by y greater than true, evaluates true or false. This is the most logical mistakes most of the Python starters will do. When you deal with logical operators, when you're dealing with AND, please make sure when your left side is false, irrespective of your right side one is false or true, the whole statement turns out to be false. That is the reason why you have to be very careful when you're dealing with logical operators. If you're not clear about this, just let me know. I repeat it once again. I repeat it. It's not I repeat once again. That's a grammatical mistake. I repeat it. Now, let me show you practically. Okay. Let me get my mouse, guys. Bear with me for 1 minute. One minute, guys. I'm trying to connect my mouse because Amarnath Kallam's mouse one. Let me try to connect, turn it off and turn it on. It's connected now. Okay, guys. At what minute is this? This is 15:26th minute. So I have to make some corrections on this minute. That's fine. Don't worry. Okay. Now, guys, what I'm trying to explain is when you are dealing with, this is your first half. When I'm talking from left to right, this is your first half. This is your second half. Okay. For any reason, if your first half statement is false and this is true, the whole statement will become false. Okay. Now, let me say x is equal to 1. Now, try, guys. Let me tell you. This is false because this one is less than or equal to 2. Likewise, 1 by y is not less than or equal to 2. Now, let me show you something. If x is greater than or equal to 2, and if I say y equal to, I'm just trying to find out the condition what I can make x by y which is greater than 2. If x is greater than or equal to 2, okay, let's say if x equal to 2, now what happens? Let's see. Y is not defined, but if I say x equal to 1, it turned false. Okay, now I say y is equal to 2, it's false because x is greater than or equal to 2, one is not greater than or equal to 2, Likewise, 1 by 2 is 0.5. 0.5 is not greater than true. So both turn to be true. Let me take this out. What I'm trying to explain is I'm not defining y, I just defined x. Now, why it turned false when I didn't give the value y? Okay, let's start thinking practically now. X equal to 1. 1 is not greater than equal to 2. 1 is obviously less than 2. Perfect. This is false, right? When it is false, it should go and run this one, right? It should say, boss, y is not defined. Why is it not telling y is not defined? It don't care. That is the logic I'm trying to make out here. Okay, because of the definition of and if x is less than or equal to 2, the expression is x greater than or equal to 2 is false. So whole expression is false regardless of whether x power evaluation is true or false. Perfect. That's what we are making now, like this. So when there is nothing to be profitable by evaluating the rest of the logical expression, it stops its evaluation and does not do any computation in the rest of the logical operations or the logical expressions. Perfect. We are perfect in dealing with this one. Okay. Now, when the evaluation of logical expression stops because of the overall value is already known, it is called as short circuiting the evaluation. Okay. That process is called short circuiting the evaluation. One ideal example is we just shown from logical operation running from left to right, left one turned to be false and didn't even care to evaluate on the right side one. This is short circuiting evaluation. The short circuiting of evaluation helps in creating the guard. Okay. Now, for example, if you have y not equal to 0 and x greater than y, print correct. Here, if I'll go a little slow. Now, let's take this example. If y not equal to 0 and x by y, print correct. So from this, what I'm trying to make here, y not equal to 0 acts as guard to ensure that we only execute x by y if y is not 0, because division by 0 would give an error. Okay, that's what it is. Very simple, very straightforward, but you need to think logically to understand what these guys are making it up. Okay, cool. Let me go to 33. Now, this is continuation, and here we are going to talk about conditional execution. This conditional execution is nothing but conditional execution gives us the ability to check and change the behavior of the program accordingly, mostly if statement. If x is greater than y, do this for me, else do this for me, else do this for me. So, for example, I am showing you one code here. If x is greater than y, print yes, x is greater than y. Else, if x is operate, if x equal to y, prints x is equal to y. Else, print no, x is not greater than y. You can do whatever you want, provided you have to know your conditional executions. If your condition is met, what is the action? If condition is not met, what is the other action? That other actions may be 1, 2, 3, 4, anything you think, right? Now, the Boolean expressions after the if statement is called the condition. This is very important. Let me highlight this for you. This kind of things I haven't highlighted because I wanted to do it on the go when you are listening to this class. Okay, this is very important. Now, the Boolean expression after the if statement is called the condition. Perfect. Now, we end the if statement with a colon character. Perfect. So the if statement is end with a colon character here, here, and here. Perfect. Now, and the lines after the if statement are intended. Let me show you that one here. When I say indentation, that means, where is my Jupyter notebook? My Jupyter notebook is here. Let me take it here. Okay. Now, observe carefully. It goes to 4 lines of spaces. Perfect. Likewise, this one here. And again, indentation starts here. It takes 4 lines here. Likewise, again here. Again here. Okay. That's what it is. So, if you understand this process, the indentation means the lines after the statement are indented. Indented means I told you about indentation earlier, so don't worry about it. This is same and valid for elif and else statement. Okay, this is valid for both elif and else statement. This is all we have in this slide. Let's go to next slide, 34. Now in this slide, what I'm trying to make out is, if the logical condition is true, then the indented statement gets executed. If the logical condition is false, the intended statement is skipped and goes forward to elif or else statement, whatever is present. Guys, very important. Very, very, very important. Let me highlight this in black color. Let me bold it, underline it. I repeat, please confirm, please be careful. If the logical condition is true, then the indented statement gets executed. Makes sense. If the logical condition is false, the indented statement is skipped and flow goes forward to elif or else statement, whatever is present. When you have an if, you'll definitely have an else. If not else, you will have an elif statement. So please remember, if the logical condition is true, the indented statement gets executed. If the logical statement is false, then the indented statement is skipped and it will flow goes to elif or else statement, whatever is present. Makes sense. Very good. Now the next one you must be aware of is, at times it may be possible nothing is present after the statement depending upon the requirement. Yes, at times you may have got nothing that is present after the statement. So what it does is different thing. We'll talk about it later stages. Let's talk about elif now. Elif is an abbreviation of else if. Okay, you have if, you have else, like that. Elif is an abbreviation of else if. There is no limit on the number of elif statements you put. Okay, that is what I explained you in the above code. Here I have one elif, right? Like this, I can have any number of elif statements. Once again, I would like to repeat, like the way you have if, else, you have elif. Elif is the abbreviation of else if. There's no limit on the number of else if statements you can add between your blocks. Now, if there is an else clause, it has to be at the end. Remember this. If you have an else, that should be at the end, but that doesn't have to be one necessarily. Necessary and aim kadu, but as if you are a very good programmer, please make sure you're putting the else at end of the block. Else if can have any number of repetitions in your code. Perfect. We understood that very carefully. Now, one conditional can also be nested within the other. Okay, look at the below code. You have x equal to y, print x and y are equal. You have your if started here. Guys, observe carefully. Your if started here, your else started here. You have print and you have else again here. Oh shit, 1 second. Okay, you have else here. Now what I'm trying to tell you is, one conditional can also be nested within the other condition. Do not get confused with there is no limit on number of elif statements. Yes, there is no number of elif statements, but you can nest one condition within the other. So this is one else condition. Okay, this is other else condition. Okay, let me do it like this. Now it makes sense. Perfect. This is all about if and else. In this slide, you must be very much aware of what is if, what is else, what is elif, and what happens if the conditions are wrongly executed. The first condition is, if the logical condition is true, the intended block will be executed. If the logical condition is false, it will just keep the flow and goes forward to elif or else, whatever you have. You can have n number of elifs in the execution, but you should only have else at end of the execution. Also, one logical condition can be nested with other logical condition. That also I explained you nicely. Now let's get the hands on now. Okay, this is the interesting part. Let's try doing it. First, understand the question carefully and then approach the problem. First, define a function with the name. I'll go one by one. Define the function with the name condition underscore statement that takes 4 arguments: number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Inside the function, implement a condition that checks if all the following conditions are true. What are those conditions? The first condition is number 1 is less than number 2, greater than number 3, and equal to number 4. That's one condition. Number 3 is smaller of the other arguments. Okay, makes sense. Number 2 is a float value. Okay. Number 1, 3, and 4 are int values. Okay, very simple. This guy is asking me to define a function, and within that function, I have to implement a condition with if. The if condition should make sure the conditions, the inside the function, implement a condition that checks the following conditions are true. When I say following conditions, number 1 is less than number 2, perfect, and number 1 is greater than number 3, perfect, and number 1 is equal to number 4. That is first condition. Like that, if number 3 is less than number 2, then type number 2 is a float value, and if type number 1 is int, number 2 is int, number 4 is int, return. Okay, here what is telling is if all the above statements are true, then return the sum of all the numbers, else return none. Now you can test your function by calling using different arguments and printing the result. See if it returns the appropriate result. Very simple, boss. Nothing to confuse. Don't break your head. There are 4 conditions. Your 4 conditions should perfectly work well. We are going to use if statement. Let's start working on it. Okay. A function is defined. Number 1 is less than number 2, greater than number 3. Let me start working on it. Give me 1 minute. I'll show you that. Okay, this bit is done. Let me start a new one now. First is my function name. What is the function name here? 1 second. Conditional underscore statement. Okay, I'll say def conditional underscore statement. Okay, that's perfect. This is the name of my condition, and he says my condition should take 4 arguments. So I'll say num1, num2, num3, num4. Perfect. And sorry, this is fine. And the indentation block of code starts from here. The first condition is num1 is if num1 is less than num2, num1 is greater than num3 and equal to num4. So if statement, if num1 is less than num2 and num1 is greater than num3 and if num1 equal to num4. Okay, num1 less than num2, greater than num3, equal to num4. Perfect. This is one condition. So what is the next one? Next one I have num3 is smallest of all our arguments. I say if num3 is less than num2. This is the other condition, right? So what I would say is my other if statement starts from here and indentation will come here. Num3 is smallest of all other arguments. All other arguments mean all other arguments. What does he mean by all other arguments? So num3 must be less than 1, 2, and 4. All other arguments. Okay. However, see here, num1 is less than num2. Perfect. Num1 is greater than num3, and num1 is equal to num4. So num1 is made as a comparison operator, comparison evaluator. Like that, Here he is telling num3 is smallest of all the arguments. Perfect. So we are comparing num3. Here he is dealing with num2. So here is num3 is the smallest of all arguments. So I say num3 less than num2. Makes sense to me. Perfect. Is less than num2. Now, after that, num3 is a float value. So if I say num3 is a float value, I say if type of num2 is a float value. Type of num2 must be num2 is float. Done deal. Okay, this is closed. Again, num1, num3, num1, num2, num1, num3, and num4 into values. So what I can say is if type of num1 is int and type of num3 is int and type of num4 is int, what happens there is int. Okay, did he say num1, 3 and 4? Num1 is int, num3 is int, and num4 is int. Super. So if this is done, what should I do? I should say if all the above conditions are true, then return the sum of numbers. Then it will say return num1 plus num2 plus num3 plus num4. Okay, this is it. Now let me run this one. It says what you have not defined what is num1. So I'll say conditional statements. Okay, I should call the function now. Conditional. Why I don't know why it's not coming up. See, give me 1 second, guys. That's perfect. It's not taken. But if I say conditional conditional underscore statement of 8, 9, 10, 11. The name conditional, it's I have defined it properly. Okay, let me call it here itself. I'll say conditional underscore statement of 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a syntax error. Let me check where is the syntax error. Num1 and num2. If num1 is greater than num2, and if num1 is less than num2 is fine, and num1 is greater than num3, and num1 equal to num4. This is where the problem is. I have to start the block here. Okay, and then this should go through perfectly. Good. And if I say this one, the indentation will start here. Okay, small mistake, guys. Again the indentation changes, so this will fall here. Perfect. Again the indentation changes, it will fall here, so I have to make the necessary corrections. Now it will work. If I say 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I say conditional statements of 8, 9, 10, 11, it has run successfully, but it has not done anything, because the reason why it has not done anything is it was not able to evaluate what you are trying to tell. Okay, now let me do a practical thing. So what is number 1? Number 1 should be less than number 2. I say number 1 is 1, number 2 is 2. Perfect. Like that, number 1 is greater than number 3. So number 1 is 0, which is greater than number 1 is greater than 3. That is done. Likewise, number 1 must be equal to number 4. So I say 1 again. My first condition is met. If I run this one, let's see what happens. Okay, I'll say 1201. Let me show you that. 1201. It has run successfully, but still not delivered anything, because again it is going to this one. In here, what is it saying? And number 3 must be less than number 2. But what I have, number 3 is less than number 2. Number 3 is 0 is less than 2. That's perfect. But number 2 must be a float, but mine is not a float. You have only said if, but you have not told else. So that's the reason why it's not returning anything. So this is how you need to understand working with if else statements. Okay, perfect. So let's jump ahead and talk about visualizing the conditions. Now here it's very important that you need to understand how to visualize the conditions. Visualizing the conditions mean we can better visualize the condition by using a flowchart for this code. Okay, let me explain you. If x is equal to y here, print equal to, come and do this work. If this is done deal, closed. If if x is not equal to y, then come here. If x is not equal to y, then x must be less than y or x must be greater than y. First, let's deal with x is less than y. If x is less than y, then come and do this bit. Done deal, khel khatam, dukan band. Now, if this is also not passed, if x is less than y, then x must be greater than y. So come in this direction, say x greater than y. That's it. Now, this is called branching. When I say branching, you need to understand the outer condition has 2 branches. The second branch contains another if statement which has 2 branches of its own. Let me explain you practically what I'm trying to talk here. I'll take a pointer. I'll erase all the drawings. Okay. Let me do this. So here what happens is the outer condition has 2 branches. When I say 2 branches, 1, 2. Perfect. The second branch contains another if statement which has 2 branches on its own. This one, 1, 2. Again if statement. This is the if statement here. Okay, super. Now these 2 branches are both simple statements, although they could have been conditional statement as well, as simple as it is. So this is how you can visualize the conditional statements, and if you are confused with the way how you have to implement, take a pen and paper, draw this diagram, then that diagram itself will give you a sense of direction or give you more insights on how you can approach the program for coding the conditional statements. Hope you are clear with this one also. Now let me go ahead with the 37th one. I'll erase all the drawings and go back to the pointer. Now 37th one. Catching exceptions. This is very important. It's 14:52. We'll stop it as promised. Let's make Python sessions 1 hour each one, so it will be easy for you to recap or practice everything. I'm stopping it here. There are some corrections I need to make in this video. I'll make it and then upload it. Thank you for your time. See you next session. Cheers.